Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about breaking down big ideas, and today we are tackling one of the most powerful and honestly most misunderstood concepts out there, culture. So let's jump right in.
Our story starts in southern Africa. It's the 1970s, and a group of young, idealistic American Peace Corps volunteers are at their breaking point. They're totally burned out, and to their own surprise, they're starting to feel really hostile toward their hosts, the Tswana people. So what on earth went so wrong?
Well, for the Americans, coming from a culture that really values individualism and, personal space, they just wanted a few moments to themselves. For them, sitting alone to recharge wasn't just a preference, it felt like a basic human need.
But here's the thing. Every single time a volunteer would find a quiet spot, a Tswana person would quickly come over, sit down, and start a conversation. To the Americans, it felt like they were constantly being crowded, constantly interrupted.
And this is the absolute heart of the misunderstanding. You see, for the Tswana, life is social life, and their entire worldview, only two kinds of people ever want to be alone: witches and people who are insane. So when they saw an American sitting all by themselves, they didn't see someone wanting privacy. They saw someone who was lonely, sad, or maybe even sick, and they rushed over as an act of genuine kindness.
So get this, one single action, just sitting alone, was seen as a need for privacy by one group and a cry for help by another. This little puzzle opens up a huge question, and the answer is absolutely central to understanding what it means to be human.
The answer to how one act can mean two totally opposite things is culture. But this probably isn't the definition of culture you're used to hearing.
Yeah, we're not talking about high art or opera here. When anthropologists talk about culture, they mean the entire toolkit we get for navigating the world. It's like the instruction manual we learn for how to be a person inside our own particular group.
What's so cool about this is how it breaks culture down. It's not just some vague blob of tradition. First, it's learned. We aren't born with it. It's shared. It's something we do together. It's patterned, which is why a value like, say, individualism in the US shows up everywhere, in how kids are raised, in the economy, even in religion. And, this is key, culture is adaptive. It's our #1 tool for survival. And finally, it's symbolic. It's all about shared meanings.
And just look at this. This simple stone tool is 2.5 million years old. It shows just how deep this stuff goes. Culture isn't some recent invention. It's our species' main survival strategy. For literally millions of years, our brains and our ability to have culture, like making tools, have evolved together, each one shaping the other. Culture is what let us take over the planet.
Okay, so when we bump into these cultural differences, like what happened in Botswana, our minds basically react in one of two ways.
On the one hand, you've got ethnocentrism. And honestly, this is our factory default setting. It's that gut feeling that our way is the normal, right way, and their way is just weird or wrong. Then, on the other hand, you have cultural relativism. This is the big tool in the anthropologist's toolkit. And it's not about agreeing with other cultures. It's about making the effort to see the world from their point of view.
It's like the anthropologist Ivan Karp put it. The things that feel completely natural to us, like needing privacy, only feel that way because we grew up in a system that built that idea. Someone, somewhere else, could have built it in a totally different way.
All right, so let's really put this tool of cultural relativism to the test. We're going to look at a practice that, for a lot of us in the West, is frankly deeply disturbing.
In some societies, especially in parts of Africa and the Middle East, the ritual that marks a girl's transition into adulthood can involve forms of genital cutting. And these procedures can vary a lot, from something symbolic to something much more extensive.
Now, from an ethnocentric point of view, our first reaction might just be to call this mutilation, full stop. But if we pause and we use that tool of cultural relativism, like the anthropologist Janice Body did in Sudan, a completely different internal logic starts to appear. For the women of this village, this intensely painful experience wasn't seen as oppression. No, it was tied to everything they valued most: becoming pure and ready for marriage, protecting family honor, and giving a woman the chance to achieve the highest possible status in her world, becoming a mother of men.
Now let me be really clear here. Understanding this logic does not mean you have to approve of the practice. Not at all. But what it does do is it allows us to turn the lens back on ourselves. I mean, what kind of pressures exist in our own society to surgically change our bodies to fit some cultural ideal of beauty or youth? Are they really so fundamentally different? Both, at their core, are about changing the body to fit an idea. This leads us to a really crucial question. If culture is this powerful, are we just puppets? Are we just dancing on its strings?
So, did their culture make them do it? Did the women in Sudan have no choice? Is culture just some kind of programming that you can't escape? Well, the anthropological answer is a huge, emphatic no. And a great example from North America shows us exactly why.
Back in the late 1800s, the U.S. government was actively trying to destroy Kiowa culture. They banned their most sacred ceremony and forced Christianity on them. But the Kiowa people didn't just give up their beliefs. They showed what anthropologists call human agency. They took Christianity and they bent it, they blended it, they made it their own. They basically Kiowanized it, creating something brand new that actually preserved their language and strengthened their identity.
So here's the big takeaway. Culture isn't a static cage. It's a dynamic, living, breathing thing that people are constantly using, arguing about, and changing. The Kiowa, the evolving views in Sudan, even those Peace Corps volunteers in Botswana, they all show us that culture isn't just something we have, it's something we do. Which really leaves us with one final thought. Since culture is always a story that's being written, what part of that story are you helping to write right now?